Nate Robinson was never an All-Star. He never made an All-NBA team, he wasn't the Rookie of the Year, he never led the league in any category or statistic. His only accolade as a professional player came in February 2013, when he won Eastern Conference Player of the Week. That's it. However, there is a reason why he's a fan favorite, and personally, one of the athletes that I admire the most in basketball history. And it's partly thanks to what happened on the night of April 27th, 2013, but to be able to appreciate the significance of that night, we need some context first. Nate Robinson attended Rainier Beach High School in Seattle, Washington, where he played as a basketball point guard and a football cornerback. His passion for both sports was absolute, and when it came time to choose a college, he chose the University of Washington, as it would allow him to play both sports. Playing two Division I sports is a dream that very few athletes achieve, and during his freshman year at Washington, Nate did exactly that. His priority ever since he was a kid was football, and he believed that if he was going to become a professional player, he would be doing it in the NFL. But after he discovered that he was one of the best point guards in the country without even giving it that much effort in the first place, he chose to put football aside and focus all his energy on being the best basketball player he could be. After finishing his third college season in which he averaged 16 points, 4 assists, and 4 rebounds per game, he decided it was time to declare himself eligible for the draft. During the summer, he worked out for 23 different NBA teams, and ultimately was drafted with the 21st pick of the 2005 draft by the Phoenix Suns, but was immediately traded to the Knicks. Remember that Nate achieved all this while being 9 inches shorter than the average NBA player. Isaiah Thomas himself said that if Robinson had been 6 feet tall, he would have been chosen first overall. The Knicks were in a very strange position going into the 2005-2006 season. They had 5 guards on their squad that required minutes on the court to optimize their productivity. Steve Francis, Stephon Marbury, Jalen Rose, Jamal Crawford, and of course, Nate Robinson. All of them ended up averaging more than 9 points per game and collectively scored 66% of all points scored by the team. Anyway, this problem continued for the next several years, but even though Robinson had limited minutes coming off the bench, he performed exceptionally well. In his sophomore season, he averaged 17 points per 36 minutes and shot almost 40% from the three-point line. During the 2009 season, Robinson had his best year yet, averaging 17 points with a good shooting percentage and a better assist-to-turnover ratio. Plus, he was crowned the slam dunk champion for the second year in a row. By the time the season ended, it seemed that the increasingly popularity and efficiency of a 24-year-old Nate Robinson would propel him to stardom. However, it all fell apart. In the 2010 season, Nate went from averaging 30 minutes per game to just 20 and had a 12-game streak where he didn't step on the floor for no apparent reason at all. He wasn't injured and the Knicks seemed to need him more than ever. We don't really know why coach Mike D'Antoni made this decision. Maybe it had something to do with the pressure of losing 50 games the prior season, but now we know that Nate wasn't the problem since without him, they finished with even a worse record that year. Once Robinson was traded to Boston in the middle of the 2010 season, it looked like his career was on its way to unravel. He played 81 games for the Celtics before being traded to Oklahoma City, where he played only 4 games in a Thunder uniform. In January 2012, he signed as a free agent in Golden State. He was a solid backup, contributing double digits in points per game, but the team was one of the worst in the league. The summer of 2012 arrived, Nate's contract with the Warriors expired, and the team had no intention of renewing it. Robinson was in his prime, but the summer was about to end and no team had called. It seemed that this marked the end of his career, and Robinson began to plan for a future without the NBA on it. But at the last moment, the Chicago Bulls knocked on his door. The contract was for 1 year and was presented to Nate as an opportunity to prove that he belonged in the NBA. Even though he was the backup point guard, he was the 3rd highest scorer on the team, and he even outplayed Kirk Hinrich, who was starting over him. He scored more points with both a better overall shooting percentage and 3-point shooting percentage. This is the perfect example of why Robinson always felt underappreciated. Even though he had proven to be a positive addition to every team he had been a part of, he still received no offers, he still wasn't given any minutes, he still was not given the trust to help an organization win. And that's how we got to the night of April 27, 2013. Game 4 of the first round between the Chicago Bulls and the Brooklyn Nets. Before joining the Bulls, Nate's postseason experience was less than shallow. He had played only 140 playoff minutes, scoring a total of 79 points, shooting below 37% from the field. But 2013 was different. In Game 1, he was arguably the best player on the Bulls, scoring 17 points and being the only one on the team to have a positive box plus minus. While in Games 2 and 3, he had good games, but he wasn't great, in line with expectations. And then, Game 4 happened. After 3 quarters, the Bulls trailed 84-76. Deron Williams led the game in scoring with 24 points, while Nate had 5 and had only been on the court for 8 minutes. As the fourth quarter approached, it looked like it would only be a 12-minute formality for the Nets to tie the series up and get both teams back to New York for Game 5. Nate walked onto the court shortly after the fourth quarter began, and the show was on. He started by assisting an easy layup for Gibson, then a mid-range jumper, then a layup, and then a catch-and-shoot 3. 2 minutes and 59 seconds on the clock. Brooklyn up by 14, 109-95. The basketball finds Robinson's hands. While dribbling, he looks up to the scoreboard and tells himself that there's still time to win. He makes a spin move and drills the shot that cuts the lead to 11. Back on offense, Kryptonite takes advantage of Noah's screen, cuts to the basket and hits a contested layup over Brook Lopez, who is, by the way, 14 inches taller than him. 109-100. He gets the ball again, shoots a successful pull-up jumper. 109-102. Now, fourth consecutive possession in which he takes a shot and is fouled. Makes all 3 free throws and the lead is cut to 4. Nate breaks free from Joe Johnson's defense and makes a shot from the upper left corner of the key. Brooklyn calls for a timeout. In less than 110 seconds, the difference has been reduced to only 2 points, and there is 1 minute remaining. The Nets try to inbound the ball, but thanks to the lockdown defense of our star player, they commit a 5-second violation. Nate Robinson has done the impossible, but he isn't finished yet. He draws the defense towards him and assists a basket to tie the game up. We are in overtime. After making another couple of big plays, Nate finds himself with the game tied, 10 seconds on the clock, and the ball in his hands. 5 seconds, 4 seconds. He launches a floater just inside the 3-point line to give the Bulls a 2-point lead with 1.7 seconds left. This ended up being a triple overtime game, and the Bulls left the building with a win that night. Nate Robinson finished with 34 points, shooting 60% from the field. 23 of those points were scored in the fourth quarter, coming within 1 point of tying the franchise record he would have shared with Michael Jordan himself. Chicago won the series in 7 games, even with Kirk Hinrich and Luol Deng injured for several games. Steve Kerr said that it was one of the best fourth quarter performances in NBA history. The reason why this is so amazing is that there is no other time this has happened before. A guard that had been a replacement for 8 years, that had to prove over and over again that he deserved a spot on a team roster despite working harder than anyone else. His best years were spent on mediocre teams with no potential, and he wasn't given his due respect for most of his career. But that night, in April of 2013, is special not only because of what happened during the game, but because of the microcosm that it represented. Nate Robinson's career summarized in 3 minutes, in which he was the best player on the court, the most passionate, and now takes place in NBA history as one of the greatest playoff performances ever.